excited for this goddess party. So trying something new today. I'm doing my live standing up. So hopefully you can see me properly and not just the chin. It's a different angle. So super excited to have you all today, to have my special guest of honor, Laura Lye from Vancouver, who is a fashion designer. And why I invited her today is because I fell in love. Girl crush. And she,
amazing. Amazing.
And Laura does fashion design with bamboo, so very eco-conscious. And she has a muse process. So she doesn't design just anything. She is inspired by women, her friends, people that she knows, to design clothing. And that is so close to our goddess process. And the main teaching that I want to share with you today is how to evoke the goddess. So what does evoking the goddess mean? Evoking the goddess means that when you work with goddesses, okay, so first of all, the way that I work with goddess is not saying, oh, I'm such a culinary goddess. Oh, I'm such a goddess of this. I like to go a little bit deeper. Working with a goddess means that we look at the mythology, we look at the life lessons of the goddess, and then we bring her into our life for healing. And there are many ways to do that. So we can evoke the goddess, invoke the goddess, walk with the goddess, and aspect the goddess. So there are 4 ways to work with the goddess. So today we're focusing on evoking the goddess. And evoking means that you use symbols in your environment, in your clothing, that makes you think of. So evoking is, it makes me think of. So for instance, in my room right now, what I've done is that I have my essential oils going on, and it's fir trees and cedars. So I am evoking the forest. I'm not standing in the forest, but I'm evoking it through my sense of smell. And Laura does the evoking of the goddess through her clothes, through the clothes that she designs. And today she's showing us a dress so that we can evoke the goddess Artemis through what we wear, because that's a good way of evoking the goddess. So just think, for instance, one moment, that you're going for a job interview. We've all done that before. Found a job interview, so we can all relate to that. And how would you dress to evoke your confidence? Would you show up in sweatpants?
Definitely not.
Unless you're going to a gym, right?
I think that you would probably wear something that, first of all, like you felt really good in. So you felt beautiful, felt confident in that article of clothing, so that when you walk into the space, you're already feeling that confidence inside of you. Right. So whatever that may be for you, you know. Yeah, and then like your stance, and holding your shoulders back, and fake it till you make it kind of thing, like,
yes,
yeah.
And that is one of the secrets of evoking. It's a little bit like that, fake it till you make it, right? Yeah. Because you will notice that depending on the clothes you wear, your body posture changes. I don't know if you've noticed that for yourself. I've noticed that for myself. I quit the federal government 9 years ago, and I've been wearing my yoga pants. Yeah. And it does change the way that I feel about myself and the way I present myself in the world. Today was so hard to go through my closet and find clothes that actually fit. Because I wanted to be here and feeling energetic and not feel like I'm in my yoga pants again, right? And when I wear a really cute dress, it's a really different energy. I can enter the room feeling differently, right? You've all felt that before?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of what evoking the goddess is. So now, instead of thinking, oh, this is my confident self going for a job interview, you think, this is me being like Artemis. So as you walk through your life, you walk with Artemis. Artemis is a goddess of the woodlands. She's a goddess of childbirth because she helped her mother give twin to her own brother. So it's kind of weird in mythology because when goddesses are born, they grow up as adults like right away. So within 9 days, Artemis was able to learn the skills of midwifery and help her own brother be born from their mother. So childhood is not the same in mythology. So that's why she's a goddess of childbirth. She's also she also protects nature, wild animals, and our wild nature as well. Artemis is a woman who, when she was asked to marry this guy or that guy, she said, no, I'm not marrying either. Just give me my bow and arrow and I'm gonna go hang out in the woods with the girls. Then she just never married. So she's also a goddess of virginity. And staying true to herself, which is really important for Artemis personality, is that ability to stay true to who you are and not give into the social pressures. And now we're going to see how Laura can evoke this goddess through clothing.
Wonderful. So I just have to, and thank you so much for that. That's, you know, it's poignant and very interesting because I'm definitely going through some things, I think, and Artemis, I think, is going to help me sort of work through some of those things. So I am wearing the Artemis dress. It was said that she wears shorter, like, because she's on the move. She's got her bow and arrow, and she's got to be able to move easily. Mm-hmm. This is bamboo. All my clothes are made of the bamboo cotton knit fabric. And this has got a sweetheart neckline. And I think of her as being a true sweetheart and of owning her sacred wild heart. Right. And so, you know, she really knows who she is and she's not afraid to be seen. So of course I had to wear, you know, feathers today and, you know, this I got from a friend of mine. It's just like a row of flowers in my hair. And then the dress, it's got the sweetheart neck, of course, the color, chocolate brown, very earthy chocolate brown color. It's also practical in some ways though, because it does have sleeves on it, right? So she's, you know, this is, you know, the goddess of getting not afraid to get your hands dirty, get into things, you know, movement, and being very grounded, of course, as well. So I thought this dress was like a nice combination. The dress is originally designed after Joanna, and I would say that she is absolutely, in so many ways, epitomizes Artemis's spirit, this girl. She's very independent. She's a really good listener. You know, she's got her own sort of unique earthy style. And again, she's an absolute sweetheart, thus the neckline. So it's, you know, she's also a little bit kind of playful as well. And so, you know, this was the style of this dress. And it's got a nice little cutout at the back too. And of course it is practical, so you can wear a bra with it. It's got most of my styles have a built-in bust support in them. So the dress is just going to hold you and you're going to be able to feel like I can move in this, I can wear it any season. You know, it's still feminine, but it's also kind of practical. And it just, to me, it was like, I'm going through all my dresses and I had originally picked another one that's a little bit more sort of elegant and sort of Spanishy kind of looking. But then I realized, no, this is the Artemis. This is the dress for her, because it's a little bit shorter too. So, cause she's moving around, she's going after things. She's got her bow and arrow. Like she needs to be able to move, you know? So yeah, so this is the one.
I love it. And I love your description of the need to move, because it's true. Artemis was always running in the woods. She was hunting. She was always going after her goals. So she could be probably like an A-type personality at times.
Really?
And in terms of, this is my goal and I'm going after it. And then she's going in the woods and she goes for her query, right? And in her shadow side, she can be quite vindictive. If you piss her off, she might just kill you or all of your children. So don't piss off Artemis, right?
Really? Yeah. Wow.
She has that vengeful heart. And most of the goddess do have this shadow side, which is one of the reasons why I love working with goddesses, because they show us that it's okay for us too to have bad days. Right?
Yeah.
I come from a religion, tradition, and even in the spirituality world, we say, oh, you have to be happy all the time. So you have to put that mask on. Yes, everything is fine. I'm fine. But is that really the truth? No. Like, look at nature. We just had freaking snow this week after a 30-degree weather. Like, nature has highs and lows and highs and lows. So do the goddesses.
Yeah.
And so can we. So let's give us permission to move our bodies, to move in our clothes, and to move through our emotions with all the highs and the lows. So Artemis really helps us with that, and showing us where are we vengeful? Where are we vengeful?
Yeah. I was listening to the speak on, where we all have needs.
Mm-hmm.
And when we feel like our needs aren't being met, then our subconscious will make sure that those needs are met. And we're doing that subconsciously in sort of manipulative ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see Artemis doing that too, like having a kind of this manipulative side to her where, if her needs aren't getting met, like you're going to feel the pain. Like she's going to get you, like.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, she's a very powerful, I think she's a very powerful force, and it almost feels to me like she dislikes masculine, like she has masculinity herself, but she doesn't like men. Like she has like an aversion to men. And
I do believe you're right on that one, because in a lot of her mythologies and a lot of her stories, she was bathing in the lakes with her nymphs. So it's another order of, they're not goddesses, nymphs, but they're still divine. And so she was just having fun with the girls, just bathing away, completely naked in her vulnerable state, right?
Mm-hmm,
and just think of your vulnerable state as maybe when you're crying, when you're opening your heart to people, when you're being really true to yourself. Mm-hmm. And then a man creeps up and says, oh, look at the goddess and she's all naked. Maybe I'm going to rape her.
Right. Yeah.
What does she do? She just transforms that man into a stag.
Yeah.
Sends his hunting dog after him, so the dogs kill the master. So your own basic instincts destroy the person that she's like attacking, right?
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And that happens in 2 or 3 stories in her mythology, that when men especially see her naked in her vulnerability, they are destroyed. So that means so many things on different levels. 1, yes, she doesn't like men. 2, she doesn't like to be seen in her vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's not safe.
Yeah.
So, and she likes to be guarded. And she much prefers her sisterhood.
Yeah, it seems to be, that's really interesting too, that she feels safe amongst feminine energy and she does not feel safe around masculine energy at all. And I mean, in the stories, it's fair to say that, because it seems like the men are always wanting something from her or wanting to take from her.
Yes.
Right. Or take her entirely.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's an interesting, I did, because I did some reading on her and I was like, oh, okay, wow. Like, you know, in some cases, she turns the men who are after her or wanting to rape her into women.
Right.
Like she turns them into women.
Yep.
Right. And so, yeah, she's a really interesting personification, I think, of how a lot of women feel, to be honest, you know, like, you know,
yeah,
like, you know, we are safe when we are together and be careful of them, you know? Yeah, it's really fascinating. So, yeah. And I love that she was true to herself and she decided, you know, this isn't for me. This is what I need for myself to be happy and to feel centered. And I'm not going to do these things. I'm going to do this instead.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's practically unheard of, because you got to remember that Artemis came from ancient Greece, which is like the place of patriarchy. That's where patriarchy was born, is in ancient Greece, and then it went to ancient Rome. Women were not considered human. Like, women had no value, really. The only citizens, to be a citizen means that you are a man of a certain city. And if you weren't a man, you were a stranger, you were an outcast, and women were only the property of men. So for her to say, I'm not doing your will, Father, I'm doing my own will, I just feel into the courage that it took for her to say, I know this is what you want from me, but I'm going to follow my own path.
Yeah.
Do you have, I'm going deep, do you have a moment in your life, Laura, where you said, I'm going to do my own path?
Yeah, well, when I started my clothing line, absolutely. But you know what was fascinating is that I only finally decided to do it when somebody who I decided was somebody who I decided, like, I respected this person and they told me, you need to go after your dreams.
Right.
So I had been told by my mother for years to do this, you're so good at it, you can do whatever you want to do. But my parents weren't figures in my life that I respected. Neither of them were.
Right.
So when this fellow, it was a guy, a gay fellow, who was a psychiatrist, right? And he had, like, to me, now there's somebody that I can respect, because I looked at him and I was like, wow, he's courageous. He had a surrogate. He hired a surrogate and had a son. He was charismatic. He was just like the coolest guy in the world, right? And he told me, he's like, you know, I don't want you to look back on your life and think, gosh, I really wish I'd gone for this. So it was then that I decided, okay, if he's got that much faith in me, then I need to start having more faith in myself. You know, and I'm still working through a lot of insecurities that I have in relation to my childhood. That I had very loving parents. They were kind people, but I didn't really have a solid figure in my life that I could look up to and respect. I, even to this day, I still don't really feel like I have that, you know? And so, yeah, it took a lot of courage for me to go ahead and do this, with having, like, packing around my insecurities, but doing it anyway. You know what I mean? Jazz? Like,
and that is perfect, again, in the Artemis story, that you find the courage, and that person that you look up to is you. And that's part of the journey, is acknowledging that in yourself. Because Artemis did not have a perfect childhood either. I mean, she was born, and she was not allowed to be born because her mother, Leto, was the lover of the god Zeus. Zeus, he sowed his seeds all over the world, right? It was just an example of infidelity. And Hera was Zeus's wife. But Zeus seduced Leto, and Leto became pregnant with Artemis and Apollo. And Hera became so furious about, I know if in your life you've been the third woman, it hasn't happened to me. I've had some clients who were like in those love triangles. But Hera became so furious. She said, Leto, you are not allowed to give birth on solid ground. And so imagine being 9 months pregnant, 10 months pregnant, 12 months pregnant. Imagine that burden of carrying children like that. And so finally, Leto was really smart. So she went on the island where Artemis was born. She took an olive branch, put the olive branch on the ground, and she straddled the olive branch so it would move like this. So she was not on solid ground.
Smart. Yeah.
And she gave birth standing on the olive branch. Hera heard of this. She was pissed off. And she said, you cannot give birth. You cannot do this again. But she was pregnant with the other twin. So 9 days later, Leto went somewhere else. And 9 days later, Artemis was able to help her mother give birth to Apollo. So,
wow.
And then what happened is that somehow Artemis and Apollo became their mother's caretaker.
Yeah.
And so they had to grow up really, really quickly, take responsibility really, really quickly, and not really be children because they had to take care of their mother.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So part of that is that story as well. It's like, I don't have a real childhood because I had to be responsible for my younger siblings. So, when I was so young in life.
Wow.
That's part of her.
So there's so many layers to all of these, wow. When you start to pick it apart, you start to understand, what the meaning in it actually is and how we're all related to her in some way.
Yeah.
How there are parts of all of Artemis in all of us, 100%. Wow. So cool.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Huh.
So when I think of that aspect of Artemis and clothing, that's when you're presented that it's a practical dress. I'm thinking, of course, Artemis would be really practical. And it's not just because of bow and arrow, but it's because she's had to have that responsibility since early on in life. And she would not love too much frou-frou. She's either kid or it's practical clothes, right?
Yeah. But she still looks absolutely like stunning.
Yes.
Even when she's got her twigs in her hair and like she's got a strong body. She knows who she is. She's very confident, right? And, and she's not afraid to show her confidence off to people, right? And I think in a lot of ways too, it seems to me that she has a nurturing spirit about her too. Like she takes care of people, and that's a beautiful thing, selfless love a lot of the time,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. Huh. Yeah, I'm going to carry her with me always. Yeah, it's good to be reminded of her, I think,
Yeah.